Right, this is part 3 of the sun visor saga. I know they did drag on, but it is the holidays and there's something to watch, isn't it? Better than watching Dancing on Ice or something stupid like that. So these are the sun visors once they're finished. And they came out really, really good. You know, some people have said I made a mountain out of a molehill by doing it like this, but this really is a good way of doing it, because when you've got this padded material, this foam backed headliner, you can have a little bit of a difficulty stitching it to itself. In other words, we had 2 pieces of headliner that were folded round the cardboard and then stitched together. If you tried to do that on the machine at the same time, it's really, really difficult. Now, stitching around it isn't we can get away with it, but it's not as good as like a heat sealed one, but we ain't got that type of equipment. So what lessons did we learn? Well, looking back, we did some right things, but we could do them better next time. The reason is that this sun visor has to be this shape. All right, it can't be any other shape. Now, bear in mind, the original factory ones are stamped together and heat molded and heat sealed round the edges. We couldn't do that, so we had to sew them. Now, they also fit in the roof lining in an aperture. That means if we were to make them a bit bigger so we can get the stitching in here, they wouldn't fit. They'd sort of drop down. They wouldn't fit nice. So that was our restriction. So next time, if you can remember the wire frame that ran inside here, next time we cut the frame down here at this end because we couldn't stitch round here. But next time we'll reduce this piece here as well. So instead of the frame being tight to the edge, we're going to bring it in about 1 inch, and that will make it easier for Jim to stitch round here, because we're right up against the edge of the metal and the board. It was kind of difficult to do, so I respect Jim for doing that. That was very good, but it was hard work. So by reducing the frame and keeping the same size, it'll work perfectly. Now, the other thing, cardboard. We realised at the end of the day that 4 thicknesses of paper was too much. We could have got away with just 2 thicknesses. All right. Now we need the paper to glue the fabric to, again, so that when we put the fabric on, we wrap it round, and then the other part wraps around, and then we've got the shape, and when they're stitched together, they'll look really nice. Now, we have seen some other people do them different ways, but that is the best way. Because his machine was struggling a little bit to do the sewing, it was hitting the inside, and if I feel there with my finger, we're right tight against the framework, so we struggled on a bit for that, but we've learnt our lesson from that. Other than that, they're quite good. Now at the back, oh look at that, look already. We've got padding on the front and it's flat at the back. This has worked out sort of in our favour, because these marks, they just come off with a bit of camping fluid, don't worry about that. If we want to put a mirror on here, we could get a flat mirror and just glue it on. Easy. You know, we could just glue a mirror on and it's done. But the next time, and Jim doesn't know this, but I've just thought it now, if you see Defender mirrors, sun visors, they've got a little strip across here where you can put your papers, insurance papers or whatever you want to carry, in the just behind the sun visor. Most people in North America, we always carry our registration documents and license, because you've got to produce them to the cops on the spot. So rather than keeping them in your wallet, keep them in the car. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the way it is here. I don't know why cars don't get stolen more often. But anyway, we could have done that simply by sewing a band of this material, like turned inside out and glued so it's got nice edges, and then just stitch it nicely before we finish this. I think that's what we'll do on the next ones, if we ever do next ones. But other than that, they'll look presentable and they'll match the roof lining in the car. Now, talking about roof lining, we asked the customer to get the roof lining material, and there was a little bit of a cock-up on the website that she went to, because it was a Canadian company, was it JR Fabric or something like this? Anyway, she wanted like a beige headliner that was fitted like originally, like a beige colour. And lo, on the name, the colour code and everything pointed towards this beige. Easy. But when it came, it was this. And if you saw us when we were sort of messing about doing the headlining, she said, oh, just put that in. Just put that in. I'm not going to order it again because it took weeks to get here. So we were a bit perturbed that when we ordered again another metre of this material, because we were a bit short, were we going to get the brown, or the beige, or we were going to get the silver? So it looks like they've got a load of this silvery type finish, this grey, but it's listed as beige. What a mess about. Now, how much material do you need? Well, we ordered 1 metre of the material. Now, in America it would be 1 yard. 1 yard, 1 metre, virtually the same thing. The reason is that's the smallest measurement that you can buy. The rolls are usually about 60, I think the 60 inches, Jim will correct me on this one if I'm wrong, but sometimes you can get them a little bit wider, but generally I think the 60-inch wide rolls. I don't know why it's all in inches, but there you go. But that's the minimum order. So, you can actually make 4 sun visors from 1 metre of material. So that's kind of economical. Now, Defender ones. This doesn't really apply to Defenders, but I'll get a Defender headliner out because sun visor, because I know where there's one in the container. Back in a minute. Right, back again. Now this is an old Defender one. It's not been written on yet, but this is a really old one. These are absolutely rusted solid. I think this came out of a canvas stock one, but they won't move. Can you recover these? Not really. I think you could, but we don't know what's in here. I think these are on a solid bar, they're not just pushed in. I don't think there's a metal frame in here. It seems to be made out of a lot stronger foam. Well, you can see the seam here where it's sort of welded together. They're not sewn, and we haven't got facility to do that because it's done in 2 pieces, clinched and cut at the same time in the factory. Now there's that band I was talking about. Here, you're familiar with this, aren't you? We could do that on the next ones. But like I said, could you recover these? Yes, I suppose you could. I suppose you could recover them. But they'd end up looking like that with a stitched edge. Not much you can do. But it's going to be really difficult to do because you can see how wide they are here. So when you bring your edge down, it's going to be difficult to sew. Not unless once we get into these we can cut them back to fit, because remember these two fit in a sort of an aperture in the roof lining. So there you go, anything's possible if you put your mind to it, isn't it? And it's got us out of a bit of a hole. You know, we couldn't find the original headlining sun visors, but they'll look a lot better than they did. Am I going to fit them now? Well, we've had to order some more dye for the seats again. So once the seats are dyed and finished, then I'll bring the car in and we'll fit everything together and get towards the end of this. Yeah, so anyway, but it's a doable thing. Just got to find somebody with a sewing machine. Well, one thing I should tell you that Jim told me, that a lot of machines have got what's called a walking foot. It pushes the material through as you're sewing. So as you're making a sewing action, it's pulling the material through as your needle's going up and down. His old Singer didn't have that, which he did this with, because he wanted to do it by hand and guide it, because we didn't want it to run away and run down the side, if you see what I mean. So he had more control over that one. I would have thought that sometimes that, and this is just me thinking, that a guide down the side would help a little bit, but now we're getting into some sort of sophistication that we'd never use again. Like I say, it's been a very steep learning curve how to do these, and we're just going to fall off the edge at the other side because we'll never perhaps do these again. But if you put your mind to it, you can do just about anything. And again, what other option did we have? See? Anyway, I hope you liked the series. It was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Like I say, there's no else on telly, is there? See you later.